Welcome and thank you for listening. I'm Linda Culbert, the author and reader of the Cross Penny series. You're about to enter Book 2, One Vozzolo Christmas, a story shaped by faith, hope, and the quiet work of God in ordinary lives. This novel is not just a tale to be heard, but a journey to be felt, one that explores love, struggle, forgiveness, and the grace that meets us along the way. As you listen, may these words draw you closer to truth, encourage your heart, and remind you that no life is beyond God's reach. Wherever you are and whatever season you're in, may this story speak to you in a personal and meaningful way. Now let us begin with Book 2, One Vozzolo Christmas. Wayne, is Tony ready to go? Jean asked as she touched up her makeup. Yes, he's all dressed and fed and excited, Wayne replied. Tony, you will make a splendid little lamb in the Christmas play at Sunny Hills Church, Jean said as she leaned down and kissed the wiggly little boy. Tony quickly rubbed the kiss off and smiled up at his mom. Tony, did you rub it in or wipe it off? Jean asked the standing scenario between them. Bah! I'm not Tony. I'm a little lamb. Bah! He replied. Come on, you two. We don't want to be late for practice now, do we? Wayne took his keys and opened the back door. Thank you, Wayne. Tony, tell Daddy. Thank you, Jean said. Bah! Thank you, Daddy. Bah! You're welcome, little lamb, Wayne said as he locked the door and unlocked the brand new white pickup truck sitting in the driveway. Wayne, I am so glad we got this new truck, and it feels so right to have Vozzolo produce painted on the doors. God directed as He directs, He provides, and we won't ever have a monthly note on it, and for that I am doubly grateful, Wayne replied as he picked up Tony and plopped him in the middle of the seat. Wayne then kissed Jean as he helped her up into the truck. Thank you, darling. I seem to be out of energy the last few weeks. I'm glad I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon. Me too. Yep, just like you were when you were pregnant with Tony, Wayne smiled. What? Do you think? Jean, I don't know, but you seem to. Before Wayne could finish, he had to dodge as Jean scrambled out of the truck and barfed. Why, oh why, did Honey want an early morning practice with these little ones? Jean asked, wiping her mouth with a tissue and holding her stomach. Well, I honestly think that's the only way she could work with them without the bigger kids. You okay? Wayne asked. Yes, I'm just a little nauseated this morning. Wayne smiled as he helped her back in the truck and shut the door. Yep, he said to himself as he walked around to the driver's side smiling, just like with Tony. Wayne wasn't real sure how the pastor's wife, Honey, got the handful of preschoolers to cooperate as little lambs and tiny angels. Jean, are you okay? You look a little tired, Honey commented as she passed out milk and cookies amidst the bleating baas of the tiny angels trying to be still. I'm fine, but no thank you for the cookies this morning. I'm trying to cut down a little, Jean replied as she held up her hand to the plate full of cuttings. More for us. These smell delicious. Pastor Lorimore laughed as he and Wayne reached for some more cookies. Jean quickly got up and headed for the restroom. Wayne, what's with that? She never turns down fresh-baked cookies, Honey asked. I'm just guessing, but I think she has the 9-month flu. We've got a doctor's appointment this afternoon, Wayne answered. Sunny Hills is growing. I'm praying that God will grow a doctor's clinic, a grocery store, and a drugstore here. We have the tractor place, the post office, the bus station, the schools, and the church. We all have to go several hours to get to either of the other places, regardless of which way we go, Honey answered. The lamb started butting the tiny angels, and Pastor, Honey, and Wayne scrambled to stop the commotion. Tony started it. One of the tiny angels shouted and pointed at Tony. Tony, enough, Wayne sternly said, and tell her you're sorry. Now. Yes, sir. I'm sorry I butted you, but that's what little lambs do, Tony said to the little girl. Yes, Tony, you are a marvelous little lamb, but do you think the little lambs butted the angels the night Jesus was born? Honey gently asked as she bent down and hugged him. No, ma'am. The angels were in the sky and the lambs couldn't reach them, Tony replied as he seriously looked at her. Wayne, Honey, and Pastor Lorimore all had to turn their heads to keep from laughing out loud. Jean came back out of the restroom and said, I don't even want to know. But Wayne, I think we need to go so I won't be late for my appointment. Wayne, Honey, and Pastor Lorimore smiled at each other as Jean took Tony's hand and headed to the door. Honey and Pastor put their hands over their mouth and shook their heads. Tony, the cute, feisty one, Pastor Lormore said softly. Tony chattered with his dad most all the way on the 3-hour drive to the doctor's office while Jean moaned and napped. One thing Tony had asked for was for Wayne to tell him the Christmas story again from the Bible. As Wayne told the story, Tony listened intently. Daddy, do you think it would bother Mama if we sang the songs? I need to practice for the play, Tony said. I think that would be fine. Which one do you want to sing first? Away in a Manger. Tony started singing and Wayne joined in. When they arrived at the doctor's office, Wayne parked the white Vozzolo truck and opened the door. He picked Tony up before he could put Tony down and go around to open Jean's door. A man approached him. Mister, are you part of Vozzolo Produce? Yes, I am, Wayne answered. Can I help you? Yes, I'm the owner of a new grocery supplier here in the city. It'll open up for business in a few weeks. When I ask grocery stores where they get their fresh produce from, Vozzolo Produce keeps coming up and so does MFP. I've just been too busy to take the time to call either of them. Could you pass my card on to the powers that be at Vozzolo Produce and tell them I'll call them as soon as I can? No, I won't pass it along, Wayne smiled, a mischievous grin at the shocked man. I am Wayne Vozzolo, and my wife and I are the powers that be. Wayne laughed, transferring Tony to his other arm and sticking out his hand to shake hands with the man. I already like you, and your reputation is incredible. Do you think you have enough produce to add me as one of your clients? I'm working with a few grocery chains, including one that wants to expand into the surrounding areas. Do you think they would open a grocery store over in Sunny Hills? It's about 3 hours from here, and this area is where most of these folks shop. Wayne put Tony down and held his hand. Son, be still now, and don't turn my hand loose. Yes, Daddy. Really? No grocery stores over there? Is there enough population in that area to support a grocery store? The man asked. I believe so, at least a small one, not city-sized. There's even an empty building that was the grocery store, Wayne replied. Tony fidgeted. Jean woke up and saw Wayne talking to the man. She opened her truck door and climbed out and walked around, taking Tony by the hand. Oh, this is my wife, Jean Vozzolo. Wayne introduced the two. Sweetheart, this fella just asked if there's enough population in the Sunny Hills area to support a small grocery store. What do you think? Well, it worked very well until the last owner turned 87 and died. Since then, it's been a long haul to get anything besides produce. Jean answered, Good to meet you. Wayne, hold on to Tony's hand, and I'll go on into the doctor's office. Wayne took Tony's hand and kissed his wife and continued to talk with the grocery supplier while Tony wiggled and decided to practice his bang. Come on, Tony, let's go look inside the store while we wait for Mama, Wayne said after securing the good-sized produce contract. As they walked through the shop door, Tony saw a beautiful nativity set. Daddy, look, it's the story of baby Jesus. There's the lambs. Bah! The clerk laughed and said, That was a very good bah. Are you going to be a little lamb in your Christmas program at church? Bah! I am. How did you know that? Bah! Tony asked. Just a good guess, the clerk said. How can I help you folks? We're just looking around, killing a little bit of time, Wayne replied. I get it. The doctor's office is next door. Here, little lammy, let me show you the donkey. The clerk picked up the donkey, showed Tony the cross of dark hair on the mane and across the top of the shoulders. See, there's a cross on his back. Tony looked at it and asked, Why? Sir, do you mind if I tell the story to your little boy? The clerk asked. Go right ahead. I haven't heard it in a long time. Wayne nodded his head. It was time for Joseph and Mary to travel a long way to Bethlehem because the government wanted to count everybody. Mary was about to have a baby and got very tired, so she rode on the donkey, who carefully walked at a slow, steady pace. It's like the donkey knew he carried a very important treasure. When Joseph and Mary and the donkey arrived in Bethlehem, there was no place to spend the night but the kind innkeeper. What's an innkeeper? Tony interrupted. He runs the motel, the clerk answered. Oh, we stayed in one of those on our vacation, Tony replied. Son, it's vacation, not vacation, Wayne gently said. Okay, on our vacation. That sounds like a bad to me, Tony said as he bad. Well, they do rhyme, the clerk said. Then what happened? Tony asked. The innkeeper invited them to stay where the animals stayed and showed them the place, the clerk continued. And that night, baby Jesus was born, and his mama, Mary, wrapped him in something like a blanket and laid him in the feed place called and the little lammy couldn't but the angels because the angels were too high up in the sky, Tony interrupted. The clerk and Wayne looked at each other and smiled. Then what about the donkey? Tony asked. When Jesus was all grown up and about to die on the cross, he rode another donkey into the city of Jerusalem. The legend or story of the donkey was after that, God painted a cross on all the donkeys' backs as a reminder to us that baby Jesus was born to die on a cross. Oh, I wonder if Miss Honey would let me play the donkey, but I don't know what a donkey says, Tony exclaimed. Well, I think we might find your mama next door. Wayne smiled and took Tony's hand. Mr. Vozzolo, please come on back. The doctor wants to talk to you and your wife together. The nurse nodded her head and motioned for Wayne to follow her. He found Jean smiling in the doctor's office. He quickly sat down by her and put Tony on his lap and then held her hand. The doctor walked in and greeted Wayne. Congratulations, Wayne. Your wife is about 8 weeks pregnant. You were right on when you told her you thought she had the 9-month flu. I have scheduled an appointment in about a month, but call the office if you need to before then. As they walked out to the truck, Tony asked, Mama, did you know donkeys have crosses on their backs and I want to be a donkey for Miss Honey, but I don't know what they say and I'm a lamb. Bah! Jean just looked at Wayne and smiled. I see you two have been busy. Mama, we saw a little box thing. A nativity set, Wayne corrected Tony. A nativity. Is that right, Daddy? Yes, nativity set. Wayne answered as he opened the door for Jean. Anyway, Mama, can we make a nativity set together for Christmas? Now that's an offer I don't think I can refuse, Jean smiled. And we got to paint a cross on the donkey's back, Tony excitedly said. Yes, we do, Wayne replied as he shut the door. Darling, you still feel up to shopping while we're over here? Wayne asked as he started the truck. Yes, we need to. How did it go with that fellow you and Tony were talking to? Jean asked. Bah, Tony interrupted. No, good, very good, Wayne replied, laughing. What does the donkey say? Tony asked. Don't you dare, Wayne Vozzolo, unless you want to hear it all the time between now and the program, and even at the program, Jean said, looking at Wayne and shaking her head no. Mama says no. The guy wanted a contract for his new grocery supply, and he has a lead on possibly a small chain grocery store back in Sunny Hills, Wayne replied. That would be cause for celebration for sure, Jean commented. Oh, darling, we have a lot to celebrate beside that, Wayne said as he gently patted Jean's tummy and rustled Tony's hair. But that would be nice. I am supposed to call the grocery store chain headquarters this afternoon when we get back home. Are they here in the city? Jean asked. As a matter of fact, they are, Wayne answered. Do you have their address? I do. Oh, I get where you're going on this. Yes, we could just go visit them in person. But I don't think I've ever taken Tony on an initial visit before, Wayne smiled. If we visit someone, maybe they will tell me what a donkey says, Tony interrupted. Jean just rolled her eyes and smiled. After about 20 minutes of driving, Wayne saw the building. Before he could pull into the parking lot, he saw a large grocery store. Would you and Tony care to go grocery shopping while I shop for a grocery store? We would, Jane laughed. Indeed we would. And that must be their number one store. It should be nice, real nice. Wayne dropped them off at the flagship grocery store and then drove the short distance to the headquarters and parked the new Vozzolo truck. Hello, Wayne spoke to the receptionist. My name is Wayne Vozzolo, and I'm here to see Pat Wagner. Hello, do you have an appointment, sir? She replied. No, ma'am. Wayne noticed the nameplate on the desk. Pat has not seen anyone without an appointment, she replied. I understand, Pat. I wish to set an appointment for 30 seconds from now, he said, smiling. Well, I am busted, but it sure weeds out everybody who doesn't pay attention. What can I do for you, Wayne? Oh, no. We still have another 15 seconds before my appointment starts. Well, it'll take you that long to come around the corner. Sit down, she laughed and pointed to a waiting chair. The new grocery supplier came over to me in the parking lot at the doctor's office a little while ago and said you were looking to expand in the outer areas, Wayne commented. I see from your truck that you are from Sunny Hills. We've not made it down there to scout it out, Pat replied. There was a thriving grocery store there, but that also carried some clothing and miscellaneous items. But what? Pat asked. The proprietor turned 87 and died. The property, building, and everything went into receivership and was bought at auction by MFP Holding. I am familiar with MFP Produce. Is it the same company? No, MFP is operated by Mr. Murphy. MFP Holding is a company he started but turned it over to someone else. Since then, MFP has bought real estate in the Sunny Hills area, including the grocery store building. It's my understanding the owner has kept everything in good working order, Wayne said. A holding company. Sometimes those are hard to get to the right person, and sometimes they take a long time to make decisions, Pat Wagner replied, frowning. I can assure you that this is not the case with MFP Holding. I can make one phone call and you can tour the building and see for yourself. Honestly, the people of the Sunny Hills area really need a grocery store. Pat laughed. Wayne, I honestly thought you were going to come in here and hard sell me on Vozzolo Produce. My folks own this company, and they would be thrilled to know that I secured a grocery store site in a surrounding area while they are in Europe. Make no bones about it, I would love to supply your grocery stores, and if you use the new distributor, I will. One thing at a time, when would you like to tour the vacant grocery store? Wayne asked. How does tomorrow sound? My husband has tomorrow off from the hospital. Wayne nodded his head. That'll work. May I use your phone to call MFP Holding and see what I can arrange? Certainly, Pat said as she shoved the phone in his direction. Hello, Wayne said when the phone was answered. This is Wayne Vozzolo. I am sitting in Pat Wagner's office. She wants to check out the empty grocery store in Sunny Hills tomorrow. Can you show it to her? She's here in the city, so what about 11 or 11ish? Wayne looked at Pat, who nodded her head yes. Thank you. Goodbye. Look, Pat, there's not any place to grab lunch down there. We feed our workers lunch, and we will have plenty. You and your husband are welcome to eat with us in our mess hall when you finish touring the store. My wife, Jean, is shopping in your flagship store, and I need to retrieve her and our little boy while we still have some money left. Oh, one thing. When you come tomorrow, please do not tell our little boy, Tony, what sound a donkey makes. He's driving us crazy with the bass. Hee-haws would just flat be too much between now and the Christmas program. So noted, Wayne, Pat laughed. I believe you are the first person who has ever come in that door shopping for a grocery store. We'll see you tomorrow for lunch. Wayne, how did it go? Gina asked as Wayne loaded the groceries into the back seat of the truck. Pat Wagner and her husband are going to come down tomorrow and take a look at the vacant store, he replied. Here, Daddy, I got some eggs, Tony said, barely holding on to the sack with one hand. Here, Tony, let Daddy help you, Wayne said as he quickly took the brown paper sack with a carton of a dozen eggs and placed them in the truck. Thank you, Tony. I'm not Tony. I'm a donkey that sounds like a little lamb. Bah! Yes, you are. Eggs? I'm surprised you got eggs, Jean. We were out, and the Tony delivery truck doesn't come into the mess hall until tomorrow, and the eggs soft cooked in butter and a piece of bread with the center cut out for eggs in a basket sound so delicious to me, Jean replied. Just like with Tony, Wayne said and laughed. Sweetheart, we are so fortunate to have that delivery truck come a couple of times a week. We certainly couldn't offer our workers lunch without it. But others in the areas don't have that option. No, Wayne, they don't. Sunny Hill needs this store. We need to pray that they decide to take it. I don't know much about MFP Holding, but they've certainly been busy buying property at Sunny Hills, Jean commented. Hopefully they would be willing to lease the store. Wayne, if MFP Holding lets them come in, Sunny Hills could actually have a grocery store in January. It's my understanding the building and all the equipment are in pristine working order. Imagine store-bought chocolate ice cream. Daddy, I want some ice cream. Mama bought these little cups with little wooden spoons. I ate all my sandwich and chips, and Mama already gave me a banana, and I ate it waiting for you. Tony tugged at his dad's arm. Is that so? We'll do that just before we get in the truck, okay? Wayne looked at Jean. I suppose that's what's in the little bag you were holding? Maybe, Jean said as she smiled. Well, I'm glad to see that you're feeling better than this morning. Wayne nodded his head. Oh, I am, and I'm ready for my ice cream. Jean held up the smaller sack as Wayne put the last grocery sack in the truck. As they ate the ice cream cups, Jean asked Wayne, Are you ready to stop today at the bus station and talk to the ticket agent? I am, but the question is, are you still wanting to make this commitment? Wayne cleaned Tony up with a paper towel he wet from the ice water jug. Ooh, Daddy, that's cold, Tony exclaimed. But now you can get in our new truck without getting chocolate everywhere, Wayne said as he picked Tony up and put him in the front seat. Here, darling, let me get that chocolate on your cheek, he said as he wiped Jean's cheek with a clean, wet corner of the paper towel. Ooh, that is cold. Wayne, we have prayed about it and we have peace about it. Then we will do it on the way home, Wayne said as he helped Jean get into the truck. 19. Hey, Wayne, what are you and Jean doing here? Hi, Tony. The Sunny Hills bus agent greeted them. What does a donkey say? Tony quickly asked. No, don't you dare answer that question, Jean replied before the bus agent could answer. Well, Tony, I've never been around a donkey, so I really don't know. But aren't you a little lamb in the Christmas program? My daughter is one of the angels. But good little lambs don't butt the angels, do they, Tony? Not if the angels are up in the sky, Tony innocently replied. What can I do for you, Wayne and Jean? The agent asked, changing the subject. We know ever so often a teen gets off the bus here and has no place to go, Wayne started. Sad, but true. The drug dealers usually nab them to be mules and transport drugs, and even to go into sex slavery. They usually are on the last bus, and Sunny Hills is the last stop before the bus returns to the city, the agent said, shaking his head. We want them, Jean said. What do you mean, we want them? The agent asked. We want them to come live at Vozzolo Produce, Wayne replied. You're not going to slave work them on your farm, are you? The shocked agent said. Oh, no. We will love these kids just like they are our own. Yes, they will learn to work if they don't already know how, but only with the same pay as for our workers, Wayne answered. We will house them and take care of their needs just like we do for Tony, and more importantly, teach them that God loves them and sent his son to be their savior, Jean continued. Now, that doesn't surprise me at all. That's just the kind of folks you two are, the agent continued. Well, most of the time, unless they really are runaways, then I have to call the sheriff's department. If they just turned 18 or too old for the foster system, they are free to go wherever they choose. Going with you guys would be a great choice. Yes, I'll pass the word along to drivers, and I'll be on the lookout when I'm here. But that last bus comes way after I leave, and that's when the bad guys come out of the woodwork, like a bunch of roaches. Back at home, the Vozzolo phone rang, and Jean answered it. Sure, Edna, you can come over. Yes, now's a good time. Tony's with his dad getting a couple of pieces of cardboard. We're going to start making a nativity set in a little while. Soon Edna Myers drove up and parked near Jean's kitchen door. The two hugged as they greeted each other. What's the matter, Edna? I can tell you've been crying, Jean said. Come on in and drink some tea with me. Is decaf okay? Iced or hot? That's fine, whichever one you were going to drink, Edna replied. So, what's up, Edna? I don't even know where to start. Jeffrey has had several affairs since we got married. One of them has resulted in a baby boy who was born yesterday. His mama absolutely doesn't want him, but Jeffrey does. Jeffrey wants me to be his baby's mama. I don't know what to do. Jean listened intently as she sipped her iced tea. Several months back, Jeffrey went away for a few days. He told me he had a vasectomy without even talking it over with me. He said he didn't want any more brats. Edna took a napkin from the napkin holder and wiped her face, tear-stained with rivers of mascara flowing. Here, let me get you a washcloth and a mirror. Your mascara must not be waterproof. Jean got up and went to the first bathroom. While she was in there, she prayed, Lord, I have no idea what to tell Edna, but you do. Give her wisdom and peace and joy. In Jesus' name, amen. Soon Jean handed a warm, wet, soapy washcloth and the mirror to Edna. She had another wet washcloth for Edna to rinse with. Wayne and Jean taught little Tony the Bible. You can teach your children the Bible too. If you're looking for a fun and meaningful way to introduce little ones to the Bible, our 9 printable Bible activities are especially designed for ages 3 and 4, perfect for curious hands and growing hearts. With coloring pages, simple puzzles, and hands-on activities, kids learn Bible stories while building early learning skills. They're easy to print, simple to use, and great for home, Sunday school, or preschool. Help your child grow in faith through play. Download the 9 printable Bible activities for ages 3 and 4 today at lindalculbreth.com. Edna took one look at her face and burst out laughing. Only a true friend would do what you just did. I'm glad I didn't go anywhere else, like there's any place else to go in Sunny Hills. Edna, what does God want you to do? Jean gently asked as Edna washed her face. I knew you were going to ask that. I just knew it. You and Wayne go to God about everything, and I'm still learning that ever since not doing it when I ran off and married Jeffrey. You know, looking back, I think the only reason Jeffrey wanted me was because he thought Wayne loved me. Edna continued. Trust me, Edna. Wayne loves you like the sister he never had. He always has, Jean interrupted. He has prayed for you, and we both continue to pray for you, especially for protection and wisdom and joy. I know that now, but I didn't know it then, and the prayers are appreciated. This little boy has entered the world through no part on his own, to a dad who doesn't love anyone but himself, and a mother who has already signed abandonment papers and has probably already left the hospital. Jean, the thought of a little baby that nobody wants just breaks my heart. Jean just listened and sipped her tea. When I think of it that way, how could I possibly just walk away? I've never even seen the little guy, much less held him. Jeffrey says he can't call me Mama. He'll have to call me Edna. But at least someone, me, would care and love him and teach him about Jesus. The closer I get to Jesus, the further away Jeffrey goes from me. But he won't leave. He's got it too good. All of our stuff is paid for, and Daddy even gives him a good salary above that. And I wouldn't be too surprised if he somehow isn't getting part of the migrant workers' pay. Dad tells me Jeffrey would be a good manager if he went in the right direction, like toward God. Thank you, Jean. I will call the hospital when I get home and tell them that I will take him. Jeffrey named him his own name plus Junior. I will call him JJ. I'll go to the city in the morning and max out a couple of credit cards and then bring him home. In the meantime, choosing to forgive Jeffrey. It's so not little JJ's fault. Edna took a final sip of tea and stood up. Thank you for the tea and the talk. I do appreciate you and Wayne and your love for the Lord and everyone else. You're welcome. Well, if you want to, JJ could probably play Baby Jesus in Honey's program. She's got the play and wants to live a live nativity scene beside it. All I have to do is keep my little lamb from headbutting the little angels as he says, bah, at the right time, and he gets to pick what the right time is for him. All I can say is, Edna, is your life is going to change forever when you bring JJ home. You will have a mixture of joy and tears. Let me pray for you before you go. The two ladies hugged each other as Jean prayed. What did Edna want? Wayne asked as he and Tony came inside with some cut cardboard. Just to tell me that she's going to be a mama. When is she due? Tomorrow, Jean replied matter-of-factly. She's sure not showing, is she? Wayne replied. Can Miss Edna show me what a donkey says? Tony asked. Watch, Tony. Mama's going to take her hot glue gun and glue the pieces of cardboard together so they will be very strong. Here, you can help me start making little rocks for the walls and floor. Wayne took a roll of aluminum foil and tore a small strip off. He tore it into small pieces of various sizes. Here, Tony, make little balls out of the little pieces of aluminum foil. Okay, Daddy. Tony picked up the first little strip and rolled it into a small ball. He continued with another one. Daddy, this one's smaller. I'll put it in a separate pile. Big one's in this pile and little one's in this pile. What if I give you a piece that's bigger than the little one but smaller than the big one? Wayne asked as he deliberately gave him a piece in between. Tony took a deep breath and sighed. Daddy, then it has to go in a separate pile. Wayne and Jean just smiled at each other. After Jean hot glued the cardboard pieces together to make each section double layered and stronger, she pulled out a rolling pin and started rolling the little aluminum foil balls flat. "Mama, why are you doing that?" Tony asked as he watched. "Look, now the stones are flat and we can glue them on the floor and the walls," Jean answered as she showed Tony how a flattened ball looked on the nativity set floor. "It's going to take a lot of them, Mama. Hurry, Daddy. I need to make more little balls and big balls and other balls so Mama can squash them." After a little while, Tony sat down on the floor. Jean and Wayne both noticed he was slowing way down. "Long day," Wayne whispered. Jean nodded her head in agreement. Soon Tony was laying on his stomach trying unsuccessfully to stay awake. Wayne and Jean continued to make aluminum foil balls. 21. "I guess it wouldn't be right to glue these on without him helping us, would it, sweetheart?" Wayne asked. "No, we're not going to use my hot glue, just plain old messy school glue that washes out of clothes. We'll wake him in a little while," Jean replied as she started to quietly tell Wayne about Edna and newborn JJ. "My hands are tired," Jean laughed at the bowl of squashed balls. She stopped and wiggled her fingers. "And it's time for me to fix some supper. Is spaghetti and meatballs okay?" "My fingers are tired too. Only if I could help butter the bread and put garlic on it for the toast." Wayne hugged Jean, carefully stepped over Tony, walked over to the door, and looked out at Vozzolo produce. "Finally, it's cool enough we can work around the clock. I am so thankful we have great managers, foremen, and workers. I have taken off work all day, and yet everything just keeps working like it should out there." "True, there's only a couple of months, maybe 3 a year, we can actually work around the clock. Then it's too hot. I don't know why the other produce farms don't do that for the sake of their workers." Jean slid her chair back and stood up. "Because we're not running them. Honey, if something were to happen to me, would you be able to continue running this place by yourself?" Wayne asked. "Wayne, you carefully taught me how to run the tractors, pick the veggies, pack them, plant, and whatever else, including ordering seeds. I hope I never have to, but because of us doing most everything together, yes, I believe with God's help I could, but I am not driving a delivery truck." "I couldn't. Everybody would tar and feather me if I messed with the payroll," Wayne laughed. Tony stirred as Jean giggled. "Oops, sorry," Wayne whispered. "That was close." "He really needs a nap, especially if we're going to go to the bus station tonight. It's exciting, but I really hope there's no kids there when we show up after the last bus." "Me too. But if there are any, or even just one, God can use us to turn their lives around. I'm glad we put clean sheets on the bed in the spare bedroom," Wayne said. After supper, Jean had Tony put on his oldest play clothes. "You ready, Tony?" Wayne asked. "I'm ready to glue rocks and stones down in our nativity," Tony slowly said as she jumped up and down. "Son, it's nativity. Say nativity," Jean instructed. "Nativity. Is that right, Mama?" "That's right. Here, Daddy's going to hand you one smashed aluminum foil ball, and you're going to put glue on one side and then place it on the nativity floor right up against the edge, and I'm going to glue some of the walls. We'll let them dry overnight, and then you can watch me hot glue the walls to the floor, and we'll make the roof, okay?" Jean said as she took a bottle of washable school glue and the walls and went to the other side of the table covered with a plastic tablecloth. "Mama, do I put all the little ones on or all the big ones on or the other ones?" Tony asked. "You mix them all up and scooch them really close together, but not kissing each other," Jean said as she showed him how she was doing it. Wayne started singing Christmas songs as they laid foil stones. Jean and Tony joined in. "Well, son, the floor is finished and we need to get you all cleaned up. It's bath time. After you get your PJs on, we're going to make a little trip to the bus station. But don't touch anything or you'll get glue all over it. Here, let Daddy get the door for you and start your bath water." Wayne picked Tony up from the chair and set him on the floor. Before I read it, would you go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so? Thank you very much. Episode number 22. The teenage boy woke up the next morning in the spare bedroom with Tony staring at him. He blinked a couple of times and rubbed his eyes. "Good morning, Tony." "How did you know my name, and who are you, and do you know what a donkey says?" Tony asked. My name is Chester Kingsley, and I met you last night, but you were mostly asleep, and I was told not to tell you what a donkey says, Chester replied as he stretched. Why does your shirt have holes in it? I hear your stomach growling. Are you hungry? But Daddy will have to fix breakfast, or I could fix you a bowl of cereal, 'cause Mama said she don't want to go near the kitchen this morning. Tony jabbered on, seldom pausing between statements. Wayne nabbed Tony by the hand. Sorry, Chester. I meant to catch him before he came in here. He's fine. Does he always talk this much this early in the morning? Not just in the mornings, Wayne laughed. Oh, all the time, Chester asked as Wayne nodded his head. Get your clothes on and I'll wrestle up some breakfast for us 3 guys. Then we'll go to the tractor place and get you some clothes like we talked about last night. Why, Wayne, why? Chester asked, putting his hand over his torn shirt. Because God told us to, and Jean and I were telling the truth last night. We want you as long as you want to stay. You said you were a junior in high school? Yes. What's junior? Tony asked. It's a grade in school, Chester replied. Come on, Tony, let's let Chester get dressed. You can help me round up some breakfast. Soon the skinny teen came from the kitchen. Help yourself, son, there's plenty, Wayne said. Are you talking to me? Yes, Wayne replied. I don't remember ever being called son, Chester replied. It's okay, Chester. Mom and Daddy call me that all the time. Here, can you help me put the bread in to make toast? Certainly, Chester said as he took the 2 rather smashed pieces of bread from Tony's hands and plopped them in the toaster and pushed the button down. After breakfast, Wayne called the school and talked with the principal. About that time, Jean came into the kitchen with a robe on and greeted everybody. How did you sleep last night, Chester? She asked. Good, real good. That's the first time in a long time that I didn't go to bed hungry. Thank you for asking, Chester replied. Sweetheart, I just got off the phone with the principal, and he said they had emergency school supplies since it's so far to the store. The tractor place will have some jeans, shirts, boots, socks, and underwear we can get for Chester. Wayne, call Pat Wagner and ask her to pick up all the school supplies. What size shoes do you wear, Chester? 10D. And ask her to get gym shoes in size 10D and medium black gym shorts, and we'll pay for them when she gets here, Jean said. I think I can catch her. It's early. Good idea. Wayne picked up the phone and called her. Chester, why can't you tell me what a donkey says? Is it 'cause you don't know? Someone told me they hadn't been around donkeys. Is that why you can't tell me? Tony asked. Hold on, Tony, Jean said. Don't pester Chester so much. Is pester Chester a rhyme, Mama? Like vacation? Tony, go brush your teeth and comb your hair, Jean commanded. Yes, Mama. Pester Chester, that's a new one on me, Chester said. Jean took off for the bathroom in the master bedroom just as Wayne hung up the phone. He laughed. Yep, she's pregnant. In a little while, we'll go get you some clothes. Let me nab Tony and we'll walk around Vozzolo produce. That way he can't bug her for a while she's getting ready to go. Soon Jean returned to the kitchen for some crackers and some lemon-lime ginger soda. Get the bed ready and God will send the kid, Jean quietly laughed. I don't understand it, Wayne. You have a family and you have this large produce farm. Why did you and Jean take me? Chester asked. 'Cause God told him to. That's what they told me. Do you think God knows what a donkey says? If I ask him, do you think he'll tell me? Tony asked, holding his dad's hand and also Chester's hand and slightly swinging his arms. I don't know, Chester replied, looking at Wayne. Son, I'm sure he does, but I'm just as sure that Mama doesn't want to hear hee-haw between now and the Christmas program, Wayne replied. Hee-haw, hee-haw, hee-haw. Tony laughed, turned loose of the hands, and started running around, hee-hawing and baaing. Oh, no. Tell me I didn't just do that. I am toast. Jean is so going to get me, Wayne said, laughing. I'm just glad it wasn't me. I would hate for her to toss me out over something like that, Chester said. Wayne stopped. Chester Kingsley, no way. We both want you and to give you a home like you've never had before. Me getting in trouble with Jean is really quite fun. Even Tony knows that, and it's way different than when he gets in trouble. Again, Chester, you can stay as long as you wish. We both want you. While I'm thinking about it, we're planning on going to the bus station every evening from now on. When another teen shows up, and they probably will from what the ticket agent tells us, we're going to have to move you out to the bunkhouse. Jean's going to want to start decorating the room you're in for the new baby before long. And we don't want you to think we're going to put you back on any bus but the school bus, nor that we don't want you, Wayne said as he started walking in. Wayne introduced Chester to the workers, including managers, as they came to him. Tony hee-hawed and bad everywhere. Soon the three entered the back door. Jean was dressed and slowly munching a cracker and sipping soda. I'm sorry, darling. I am so sorry, Wayne said as he leaned down and kissed his wife. Well, me being pregnant is your fault. Before she could finish, Tony let out a loud hee-haw. Oh, no, Wayne. Whatever were you thinking? Jean said about the same time Tony headbutted Chester from behind his knees like an illegal clip in football. Chester hit the floor, then got up, said nothing, but held his rib cage and moaned a little. Chester Kingsley, absolutely no. Don't you dare let him get away with that. You fuss at him and we'll fuss at him, Jean said, shaking her finger at Chester's face. Tony, that hurt me, and I don't want you to do it ever again, okay? Chester quietly said. I'm sorry. Tony hung his head down. Tony, go on and go to your room and think about it. I'll come in there in a little minute. We'll talk about it, Wayne said, pointing to Tony's room. Yes, Daddy. Chester, son, are you okay? Jean softly said. Yes, ma'am. I landed on a couple of bruises and it kind of made them hurt, but I'm okay. Chester, do you mind showing us? Wayne asked. You really want to see? No one has ever cared before, Chester replied. Yes, we do, Jean said, putting her cracker down. Chester unbuttoned his well-worn shirt and pulled it off. Jean and Wayne stared in horror at the blue and purple bruises that were beginning to turn yellowish green that Chester revealed. Daddy, I'm waiting. Tony stuck his head around and saw Chester's bruises. He ran over to him and hugged him. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Those boo-boos are ouchy, and I'll never hurt you or anybody else again. I promise, Tony said, sobbing. Tony, you didn't give me these boo-boos. I already had them, but you did make them hurt, Chester said, hugging the sobbing little boy back. Will you be my big brother? Tony looked up through his tears at Chester. Would you like me to be your big brother? Chester asked. I would, very much. Then I would very much like to be your big brother, too, Chester answered, hugging the little boy tightly. Soon the four of them were over at the tractor place. Chester, I know there's not much of a selection here. Next time we go into town, we'll get some more things for you, Jean said as she led the way to the small clothing section. Chester tried on a pair of jeans and a shirt he thought were about the right size. Jean picked up a couple of packages of underwear and T-shirts she knew would go with the clothes size. Get you 4 more shirts. That's about all they got in your size. And rats, they only have one more pair of jeans in your size. Here, I'll hold them, Jean said, reaching for the clothes. Son, we need to get you a pair of boots. I'm afraid that's all they have here. 10D, huh? Wayne asked. Yes, Wayne, Chester replied, looking at the small selection of boot boxes. Jean ripped the tags off a pair of jeans and one of the shirts. Then she ripped open a package of socks. Chester, go put these on, including a new pair of socks. Wayne took all the other clothes in the boot box and went to the counter. Jean laid the tags down beside them. And these, he's going to wear the clothes that go with them. The clerk looked inside the boot box and saw a ragged pair of cheap gym shoes and a dirty pair of socks with holes in them. Before he could say anything, Tony piped up, He's my new big brother, and I won't butt him again like a donkey who says hee-haw or a little lamb that says bah. Tony looked up at the clerk. I promised him. Then I guess you need to keep your promise, Tony, the clerk said. New big brother? He looked at Wayne and Jean. Yep, Tony has a new big brother, Wayne and Jean said at the same time, smiling at the confused clerk. Daddy, we got to get Chester one of these. Wayne took the orange baseball cap with the iguana on it from Tony and put it on the counter. Yes, and one of these. Wayne pulled up in front of the school office and parked. All four got out of the truck. Jean made sure she had a good grip on Tony's hand. Chester, you are now 18. You can enroll yourself while we wait, Wayne said as he opened the front school door for Jean and Tony. No, sir. I'm clueless as to what to do. I'd really like it if all three of you came with me, Chester replied, shaking his head. No. Okay, then we all will enroll you, Wayne answered. Chester, I get to go to school next year when I'm bigger. I mean, I'm a big boy now, but I'll be bigger then, Tony said as Chester took his new baseball cap off and sighed. Yes, you will, Chester replied. Soon Chester was enrolled as a junior without permanent records. He would not be able to get them from his old high school. Only his foster parents could, or the caseworker, and then only before he turned 18. The representative from MFP Holding met Pat Wagner, her husband, Kyle Dakota Wagner, and also her sister and brother-in-law at the vacant Sunny Hill storefront. He unlocked the doors and flipped the lights on. It's the policy of MFP Holding to have the lights on so you can see everything. Attached are some living quarters, and here's the key. If you have any questions, I will be over here. Look at everything. What you see comes with this property. There's grocery carts, shelving, displays, checkouts, cash registers, freezers, coolers, restrooms, warehouse, office, and of course the parking lot. Oh, here's the maintenance sheet of when and what work was done on this facility since MFP Holdings' acquisition. The rep handed the living quarters keys and the other keys to Pat. Then he sat down on a bench near the door. After exploring everything, the four came over to the representative. Do you think MFP Holding would be willing to do a lease to own, or will they need it bought right out with me getting my own financing? Pat asked. The representative looked down at his paperwork and then looked back up. Do you want the property as a lease to own? Pat looked at her husband, sister, and brother-in-law. I do, but there's some things I have to figure out first. The last place I looked at in the boonies was actually in need of tearing down. It hadn't been maintained in years, and they wanted a fortune for it. Oh, of course, the owner of MFP Holding has instructed me to do all I can do, within reason, to facilitate the arrival of a grocery store in this area. And if that means a lease to own, then it means a lease to own. I have a question, the brother-in-law stated. Shoot, I will answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it out. Sounds reasonable. Does MFP Holding own any other property in this area? That question I can answer. MFP Holding owns a mixture of virgin property and also property with some buildings. For example, when this store was thriving, the corner drugstore was also thriving. What happened to it? The brother-in-law asked. Same thing as here. The owner got old, got sick, and died. Even if folks had to go to the city to see a doctor, at least they could get their prescriptions filled close to home, the rep explained. The drugstore also had a counter with hamburgers and shakes and floats and malts and fries and stuff, he continued. Do we have time to look at it before we go over to Vozzolo Produce to eat lunch? The brother-in-law asked. The rep looked at his watch and nodded yes. The others watched as he pulled out a different file from his briefcase and handed them maintenance sheets on the drugstore. He locked the grocery store and said, Follow me, it's not too far and pretty close to the school, post office, and church. Soon both vehicles pulled into the parking places under the sign, the corner drugstore. As the rep unlocked the door and turned on the lights, a lady crossed the street from the post office. Is the corner drugstore going to open again? She asked. Maybe, the rep answered, but we don't know anything right now. I keep running out of my blood pressure medicine. It's so hard for me to get to town to get my medicine or even to get my groceries. At least Wayne and Jean give me some produce to tide me over for a few days. I hope we get these two places back, she said, and then she got in her brand new car and left. That lady was serious, wasn't she? Dr. Kyle Dakota Wagner asked. That's pretty dangerous for her to run out of her medicine. I'm afraid so. It's sad. Sunny Hills is such a lovely area. The people are here and in surrounding areas. Most have some money to spend, as a rule. Sunny Hill just needs some places for them to spend it. Here, you folks look around, and the former druggist lived upstairs, so check that out as well. We'll need to leave in about 10 or 15 minutes, he said as he looked at his watch. The four checked every nook and cranny, even upstairs, as the rep sat down on a stool at the counter and waited. You know, Pat, my residency is up and I'm more or less treading water. I have standing offers from hospitals and clinics, but I would really like just to be an old-fashioned country doctor. And this is a biggie to me. It has to be right for you, too, Doc Wagner told his wife on a short drive to Vozzolo Produce. What do you think, my redshirt pharmacist brother-in-law? It would sure be pretty simple to set up that drugstore. It's ready to load up and flip the close sign over to open, he replied, and not refilling medicine because it's an all-day journey all the time. By the time you make the round trip, it's sad. Real sad, and actually very dangerous. Some of these folks are probably a lot sicker than they would be because of that. But it has to be right for my RN wife. I won't just move to the boonies without your support, honey. Kyle Dakota, if you come, do you need a RN for your clinic? Pat's sister asked. Well, we didn't even ask about a clinic building, Doc replied. Wait a minute, guys. I see some major hurdles here. Number one, we don't know for sure how much MFP Holding is asking on leases to own. Number two, I don't see a place for a setup team to stay for the week or so to set up and stock the store. And three, what about hiring enough employees to man the stores? Those have to be answered before I can commit. But I now understand why Wayne called me this morning and asked me to pick up these things for somebody named Chester, Pat commented as Kyle Dakota turned into the parking place next to MFP Holdings rep. But it looks like Sunny Hill needs all of us, and I am so tired of city traffic and the city rat race. Maybe we can talk to the rep in private, Kyle Dakota said. Welcome to Vozzolo Produce, Wayne said as he held the door open and greeted everybody, including the rep, as they entered the mess hall. Thank you. Wow, it smells delicious in here, Pat said, shaking Wayne's hand. Jean's recipes, but the kitchen crew cooked it. Let me introduce you to Jean and Tony. Wayne led them over to the front table. That was two tables shoved together. Here's the things you asked me to get. I understand why you needed them. Where's Chester? And I'll hand them to him. Pat asked. My big brother Chester's in school. We dumped him there earlier, and I promised I would never butt him again because of his ugly boo-boos, Tony said. And this talkative young man is our son Tony, Wayne said. Wayne introduced Pat, and she introduced everyone else. Please be seated. Our workers are getting cleaned up, and Pastor Lorimore and his wife, Honey. Oh, looks like they are pulling in right now, Wayne said, looking out the window. Oh, my goodness, it smells great in here, Honey said as she hugged Wayne. Thanks for inviting us, Wayne, Pastor Lorimore said as he also hugged Wayne. No, thank you for coming. I'd like to introduce you to some folks, Wayne said as he ushered them over to the head table. Honey hugged Tony and Jean. Miss Honey, it doesn't matter if you want me to be a little lamb that goes baa or donkey with a cross on his back that goes hee-haw. I promise not to butt any angels or anybody else, Tony said. And I'm going to tell the angel I'm sorry. Did she get a boo-boo from it? Tony, she's okay, but I'm sure she would like for you to say that you are sorry, Honey said. Wayne looked around and picked up the mic. I think the gang's all here. Before we pray and ask God's blessing on this delicious-smelling meal, I'd like to welcome our guests and allow them to go first in line. Let us pray. Wayne, you were right, Pat started as they ate dessert. MFP Holding has kept the grocery store up, ready to stock. And the corner drugstore, the brother-in-law said. I didn't know you were going to look there, too, Wayne replied. But I have some issues, even if we can come up an agreement on price, Pat continued. What are they? Jean asked. There's no place to house the setup crew, Pat replied. Excuse me, but what does the setup crew do? Honey asked. A setup crew does just that. Unloads the truck, stocks the shelves, fills the warehouse, stuff like that, Pat replied. Honey whispered to Pastor Lorimore. He shook his head, yes. Pat, it's almost Christmas break at the school. Most of the kids and the teachers and staff could actually unload trucks and stock shelves if you showed them what to do. And they would probably do it for free, Pastor Lorimore said. Not free, maybe with accounts and their numbers of hours credited to their accounts that they could use when shopping, Kyle Dakota said. So what do you think, Kyle Dakota? Wayne asked. And why the two first names? My friends and family call me Kyle Dakota. My folks couldn't decide on which should be my name, so they insisted I go by a double first name. My patients call me Doc or Doc Wagner. I'm an MD, a general practitioner. You need to look at Chester's boo-boos. They look real bad, and I really didn't mean to hurt him, Tony said, looking at the doctor. He really needs a doctor. Tony, darling, you didn't give the boo-boos to him, Jean gently said. But I made them hurt, Tony protested. Wayne, Jean, who's Chester? Honey asked. We did it. We started last night going to the bus station and rescuing the throwaway kids. God gave us our first last night. His name is Chester Kingsley, and Tony has adopted him as his big brother, Wayne explained. The 4 guests and the MFP holding rep listened intently. Throwaway kids? Pat asked. Kids that have aged out of the foster system and have been put on a bus with a one-way ticket to a middle of nowhere, Sunny Hills. Broke, hungry, homeless. Chester's behind in high school by a year, and there's no way but drugs and other bad things he faced as a way to support himself on his own. Wayne answered and turned to Pat's brother-in-law. And what do you do? Registered pharmacist. And you? Wayne asked Pat's sister. Licensed RN. Wayne nearly choked on his cantaloupe ice cream bowl. Would you 4 like to talk to the rep in the office? The office crew is through for the day, and you can use the phone if need be, Jean offered. Okay, good idea, the rep said as he picked up his briefcase. Before they got to the office, all 5 of them left Vozzolo Produce. Well, we tried. I guess God has other plans, Wayne sighed as he watched them leave in both cars. I'm going to put on my work clothes and go find a tractor. Excuse me, Pastor Lorimore and honey, Tony, you be real good for your mama, okay? Wayne hugged Tony and kissed Jean and left. Your kids like making cool things and loving dinosaurs? If the answer is yes, then you and they are going to love our Make It books. You can print and help your little ones fold and lace to create and build their very own masterpieces. And guess what? We also have Roarsome Dinosaur birthday party decorations. Your kids will think it's dino-tastic. Make it, create it, roar into fun. Find Tony's green box and click on it at lindalculbreth.com. Miss Honey, come look at my nativity set Mama and Daddy and me are making, Tony said. Tony took Honey and Pastor Lorimore both by the hands. Son, it's nativity. Say nativity, Jean said, standing up. Nativity. That's a hard word for me to remember, Tony replied. Let me talk to my kitchen crew for a minute and we'll go look at the nativity set, Jean said, slowly saying the word nativity. After thanking the crew, Jean joined Tony, the pastor, and his wife as they walked over to the house. Oh, Tony, this is lovely, Honey exclaimed as she looked at the glued pieces of squash foil balls on the cardboard. I can't wait to see it finished. Do you know why the donkey we didn't make one yet has a cross on his back? Do ya? Tony asked, running his words all together. Tell me why the donkeys have a cross, Tony, Pastor Lorimore encouraged the small boy to answer. 'Cause Jesus' mama Mary rode the donkey into what's that place, Mama? Tony paused to ask and looked at his mom. Bethlehem, Jean replied, sitting down. That's it, Bethlehem, and then she had baby Jesus and wrapped him in a blanket so he wouldn't be cold and laid him in a manger. Then he grew up and rode into a big city on the back of another donkey. At least I think it was another donkey. And then he died on the cross, and God wants us to remember that cross, so he painted a cross on the back of all the donkeys. And, Mama, we're going to make a donkey with a cross on his back, aren't we? Tony took a deep breath. Tony, that's a pretty good sermon about Jesus you just preached, Pastor Lorimore said, smiling. You might take a breath a little more often and slow down a little. It's a little hard for me to listen that fast. Pastor Lorimore patted Tony on the back. Oh, I didn't think about that. Okay, do I need to say it slower? Tony asked. No, we listened really fast this time, but next time you slow down a little, Pastor Lorimore said. There's never a dull moment on Vozzolo Produce, Jean said, laughing. Jean, we'll have the final practices Saturday afternoon at about 2, Honey said. Tony, do you want to be a little lamb or a little donkey? I can baa like a little lamb, or I can hee-haw like a donkey with the cross on his back. Mama, could you put a dark cross on my robe for the donkey? And I promise not to butt anybody, Tony said without giving his mother a chance to answer. Well, Tony, you get to decide which one you want to be. Just remember the donkey was quiet because he didn't want to wake up baby Jesus, okay? Honey said, Yes, ma'am. I'll remember that on Sunday night. That comes after Saturday, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Jean, I have peace about this store situation. God's still in control, and He cares about Sunny Hills, and we have asked Him, and now we're going to thank Him for whatever He chooses to do," Honey said as she took one of Tony's hands and one of Pastor Lorimore's hands. Jean took the other free hands, and Honey prayed a simple prayer of thanksgiving. "Thank you," Jean said as she hugged Honey and shook Pastor Lorimore's hands. "Bye," Tony waved as they left. "Bye, Tony. We'll see you Saturday afternoon," Honey said. "Wait, Tony." Jean grabbed his hand as they watched the yellow school bus stop. The door opened and Chester came ambling down the steps. "How was your day, son?" Jean asked. "Different than I expected. I have a note for you. All the kids got one. I think they must have just ran them off on the mimeograph machine. The school secretary had purple ink all over her nose and fingers, and I got called to the office just after lunch. That must be some school record of getting enrolled and finding yourself in the principal's office, and then I got kicked out," Chester said as he handed Jean the note. "Want to play catch with me, Chester?" Tony asked, holding his ball and glove. "Whoa, not so fast, Chester." Jean stopped him. "Nah, I'll tell you and Wayne together. Right now I have an important ball game about to start," Chester replied. "But most of it's good. Actually, it all turned out pretty good considering how it could have turned out." Chester set his stuff on the picnic table and started playing ball with Tony as Jean read the wrinkled note. "Chester!" Jean hollered. "Told ya!" Chester laughed as he threw the ball gently to Tony. Wayne turned his tractor back over to one of the tractor drivers after he saw the school bus turn in. He walked back to the yard and joined in the ball game as Jean watched from the picnic table. "You like to play ball, son?" Wayne asked. "Yes, sir," both Tony and Chester answered at the same time. Wayne and Jean both laughed. "Chester, you should try out for the iguana baseball team this spring," Jean said. "Can't," Chester replied as he gently threw the ball back to Tony. "And why not?" Jean asked. "Well, I don't have a glove or a real ball to practice with." "You can practice with my ball and me any time," Tony said, throwing the ball to his dad. "Thank you, Tony. That's very kind and generous. But your glove fits your hand and not mine, and the ball you have is bigger and softer," Chester replied. "Oh, there's different kinds of baseballs?" Tony asked. "There sure are, son, and you would have the kind that's just right for you," Wayne said, catching the ball from Tony. "Okay, Tony, it's time for your favorite cartoons on TV. Go ahead and we'll come inside in just a little bit, okay?" Jean said. "I hope I didn't miss the beginning," Tony said as he raced inside. "Chester, over here, now, and sit, and talk," Jean commanded as she motioned for Chester to come over to the picnic table. "Uh-oh," Wayne said as he looked at Chester, who was smiling. "First of all, Wayne, Chester handed me this note when he got off the bus." Jean handed Wayne the wrinkled mimeograph note. Wayne took the note and started reading it out loud. "Greetings, parents and guardians. Number 1, we want to remind you that Christmas vacation begins right after the parties on Friday. We will return back to school on January the 3rd. Number 2, super important. We are excited to inform you that the grocery store is reopening under new management as soon as it is stocked and employees hired. This is where you and the students are needed. The store has asked that all available students and adults report to the store on Monday at 8 a.m. in the morning and sign up for an account. The large delivery trucks are scheduled to arrive early and need to be unloaded and the shelves stocked. The hours you work will be added to your account that you may shop with just like cash. We believe this is the best Christmas present Sunny Hills has had in a long time. Number 3, everyone is invited to the Christmas program at Sunny Hills Church this Sunday night at 7. "What? It's true?" Wayne looked up at Jean with his eyes brimming with tears. "That's what the note says," Chester said. But something else was really weird. He paused as both Wayne and Jean looked at him. "I was called to the office after lunch. One of the students said he thought I broke the shortest record of being enrolled and then being called to the principal's office." The principal asked me if I wanted a visiting doctor to check out my bruises, that it wouldn't cost anything. I figured it wouldn't hurt anything, so I agreed. Dr. Wagner was his name. Looked at me in the principal's office with the principal and a nurse. The doc poked around on me and said he wished he could get some x-rays, but he didn't hear any abnormal sounds in my lungs or chest or anything, so he thought I would be okay. Just try not to bump them or get bumped. Then somebody banged on the door and shouted that the history teacher was down on the floor. The principal threw me out of the office as he, the doctor, and the nurse raced down the hallway. Well, that just so happened to be the class I was in, so I watched from the doorway as they performed CPR on him, gave him a shot of something from the doctor's bag. He came to and said his chest hurt. Last I saw, they helped him sit on his rollabout chair and raced him to the principal's car where they put him in the back seat. The doctor climbed in with him, and the nurse climbed in the front seat with the doctor's bag. The principal screeched his tires as they took off in the direction of the city. I guess that's the closest hospital, Chester explained. Then they moved us from that classroom down to the lunchroom. Oh, I'm sorry, that reminds me. I was hungry and ate a plate lunch, but I had to charge it. I'll do whatever to pay for it. No, son. We'll take care of it. I forgot about your lunch, Wayne replied. Let's pray right now for the teacher. They probably aren't even at the hospital yet. It's such a long way to medical care. With that, Wayne and Jean held hands and took Chester's hands as Wayne prayed, thanking God for the doctor and nurse being there and for the grocery store opening back up. Come on, you're missing the good part, Tony shouted as he stuck his head out the back door. Chester, welcome to Vozzolo Produce Family. It's official once you watch cartoons with Tony, Wayne said, laughing as they all stood up. After the cartoons were over, the four of them worked on the nativity set together. Chester, you got to mix the little stones, big ones, and Daddy, what are the other ones called? Tony asked. The in-between ones, Wayne replied, looking at Jean, shrugging his shoulders and raising his eyebrows. Jean smiled and nodded her head. Thanks, Daddy. And Chester, you got to put some in-between ones in there and then glue them like this and try not to get it on your clothes, but Mama says it's washable. Is Daddy going to pick you up and put you in the bathtub too? He did that to me so I wouldn't get glue everywhere, Tony says as he squirted way too much glue out of the bottle. Well, Tony, I'll try real hard to be careful not to get glue on my clothes. Here, let me stick this little one. No, Chester, that's an in-between one, not a little one, Tony insisted. You're right, it's an in-between one. Here, let me use some of the glue you squirted. I think you have plenty to share, Chester replied. Maybe it's a good thing we were introduced to the principal today. Come next school year, when Tony starts kindergarten, I'm afraid we might get to know him more than we want to, Wayne said as he leaned down and kissed Jean on top of her head. Wayne and Jean, I don't remember ever having as much fun as I've had today. I feel like I belong here. The only bad thing that's happened was the history teacher going down. Wonder how he's doing. Chester, you do belong here, and we also wonder about the teacher, Jean replied. Wayne got several wet wash rags and stood by ready to keep Tony's sticky hands at bay from everything but tiny stones. Now these have to dry overnight so they will stick. Tony, would you and Chester like to paint a night sky? Jean asked. I have 4 empty bread wrappers to use as gloves. Wayne, will you take some rubber bands and put them on their arms to hold the bags on? Certainly. Here, Chester, this one's not been used, Wayne said, handing Chester a wet wash rag. Thanks, Chester said as he wiped a small amount of glue off of a couple of... Thanks, Chester said as he wiped a small amount of glue off of a couple of his fingers. Sweetheart, Why don't we go out to the picnic table to paint the night sky? Wayne said, scooping up the blank canvas and the quick-drying but washable paint. Excellent idea, Jean replied as she stood up. Follow me. Just like in my picture book, Mama, the mama duck leads and the baby ducks follow, Tony said, laughing. I got breadcrumbs on my fingers, he exclaimed, looking at the crumbs stuck on his fingers. Tony, your fingers are just getting a little snack before supper, that's all, Chester said, laughing and patting on the back with one of his bread wrapper cloaked hands. They all settled in at the picnic table and washed as Jean showed them how to paint the canvas in several shades to make a night scene using some leftover cloth from a sewing project. Honey, would you please go grab a couple of cotton swabs and cut the ends off. The boys can dab the tiny ends into the silver paint and make 1,000,000 tiny stars, Jean said. Soon Wayne was back outside with 2 cotton swabs. He took his pocket knife and cut the ends off of both of them. He also brought some more wet washcloths. The 2 boys followed Jean's directions, and soon the canvas was covered. As Jean removed Tony's rubber bands and peeled Tony's bags off inside out, Chester did the same. Jean stuffed Tony's bread wrapper bags inside Chester's. Now, she said, let's go eat supper in the mess hall while the dark sky dries real good. We're eating leftovers. No, they're planned-overs, and we're using paper plates. Honey, that was delicious, thank you, Wayne said as he took his wife's empty plate and dumped it in the garbage can next to the bread wrappers. I'm going over to the office to look at today's reports. Look out on Vozzolo Produce. The evening shift is out there, and the lights just came on, and wow, I have a hard time believing what I'm seeing. Come on, boys. Let's paint some more stars in the sky, Jean said, on the short distance back to the picnic table. Tony held hands with both Jean and Chester. Wayne entered the office and shut the door behind him, and then into his and Jean's inner office and also shut that door. He sat on the edge of his desk and picked up the handset of the phone and dialed a number. Hey, Wayne here. Good job on getting the store open. Wayne, that's not all. I have a lease on the drugstore as well. What? Wayne said, that's still not all. Wayne, remember the house you just acquired with the big yard? The one just past the large field with the trees? Yes, Wayne replied. The doc signed a lease on that one too for a clinic. He said the big yard would make a great parking lot. The drugstore will open with just the pharmacy so folks can get their prescriptions locally. After the grocery store is stocked, the pharmacist said he would use some of those folks to fully stock the corner drugstore. He's keeping the name? Wayne asked, interrupting. Yes, and he'll start the soda fountain back up, and he said he would add some things that maybe the grocery store won't be carrying, the MFP rep said. Thank you. Do you know how the history teacher's doing? Wayne asked. Yes, Pat Wagner called and let me know he's on a cardiac floor at the hospital. She said the only reason he survived his heart attack was because medical care was there so soon. She also said all 4 of them are looking forward to being part of Sunny Hills. Oh, and Wayne, you don't know this, but you just acquired, just last week, a huge house over in Connerville. It used to be a big boarding house before the railroad bypassed Sunny Hills. I'll get it cleaned up and whatever repairs that need to be done on it. I've already listed it in the city paper. I had some calls on it, but one lady is really interested in it. She met me the next day after the ad appeared and we inspected it together. She said she's ready to get back to her roots into Sunny Hills Church. She's tired of the city. Bertha Rupel signed a contract based on her final inspection and put down a nice deposit. I was going to get it fixed up like she wants it, even with a white picket fence. Wow. MFP Holding has certainly hired the right person. Thank you for honoring my wishes of anonymity. Nobody but you, me, Mr. Murphy, and my dad know who really owns MFP Holding. Not even Jean. One more thing. There's a hunk of property directly across from my house and this office that I believe is coming available. If it does get it for me, I would one day like to open a small canning company, and that would be an ideal location. So it won't be going to the market. MFP Holdings should be able to make a decent cash offer. Thanks. I got to look at some reports and get back to the house. Wayne hung up the phone and offered a prayer of thanksgiving. He quickly looked at the daily reports, locked both offices, and returned to watch the canvas turn into a night sky with tiny silver stars. Okay, everybody. Tony, go get your bath and put on your jammies. We will be going to the bus station in a little while, Wayne said. How are the reports? Jean asked. Just like they should be. I'm one more happy camper, Wayne answered, nodding his head. Come on, everybody. Tonight's the Christmas program at Sunny Hills Church. I don't want to be late, Tony said, hurrying everybody. We're coming. Hold on, Tony. Your mama's a little tired tonight, Wayne said as he opened the kitchen door. Now, Tony, there'll probably be a lot of folks at church tonight. I don't want you to be afraid. I'm a brave little lamb. I won't be afraid, Tony replied. I've never been to a Christmas program at church. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure if I've ever even been to a church before I came to Vozzolo Produce, Chester said. Well, tonight you'll find out what Christmas is really all about, Wayne said as he helped Jean out the door. When they arrived at the church, the parking lot was full and a number of vehicles had already parked on the side of the road. Well, we expected this. Wayne, would you mind letting me off at the front door of the church while you park? I guess you'll have to park out on the road. There's so many folks here, Jean asked. Not at all, darling. Chester, would you take Tony where he needs to be so Jean can sit down? Certainly. Come on, Tony, Chester replied. Except for school ball games and special programs here at Sunny Hills Church, there really is no place to go in Sunny Hills for any kind of entertainment, Jean said as Chester helped her inside. Jean, are you sure you should be here tonight? Chester whispered to her. I know you don't feel very good. Do I really have a choice? Jean whispered back as she sat down. I guess not. Come on, Tony. Miss Honey wants you over in the choir room just like you practiced yesterday and last night. Chester took the little lamb to Miss Honey and returned to sit by Jean. Wayne was going to lead all the songs from the platform. The lights were dimmed and the program started. Tony, the little lamb, and the tiny angel came out of the choir room and took their places on the side steps to the red carpeted platform. Tony looked up, saw all the people, and started trembling. The little angel took hold of his hand and told him, Tony, all you have to do is just one. You can do it. Thanks, I'm scared, and I think I need to go to the bathroom, he whispered back, louder than he thought. No, you just went. Miss Honey made us all go. Remember, you're doing this for Jesus. Now let's watch the big kids do the play, and your daddy is right over there leading the singing. Sing like you do on Sundays, the little angel insisted. Soon the little angel and the little lamb, still holding hands, sang all the songs. When the program was over, Wayne found Honey and Pastor Lorimer. It was great, but we need to leave and go by the bus station, and Jean is really tired tonight, he said as he retrieved Tony and went back to where Jean and Chester were sitting. Jean, I'll go get the truck and drive it back up here by the door. I'll be right back. Chester held one of Tony's hands as he helped Jean stand up with the other. Soon they were at the white truck and then stopped by the bus station. Chester jumped out and looked in every nook and cranny. He came back to the truck smiling. There's no one here again. For that, I'm thankful. Tony and Jean both went to sleep on the short way back to Vozzolo Produce. Wayne, I don't think Jean feels very good. She didn't even feel like working on the nativity set again today, Chester quietly said, and I had to help her stand up while you were getting in the truck. I know, maybe she'll feel better in a day or two, Wayne replied as he parked in the driveway. Chester carried Tony in and woke him up enough so Tony could get ready for bed. Then Chester went to his room thinking about the story of Jesus Christ and why he came. Wayne helped Jean inside to their bedroom. When she was settled in bed, he went out to the kitchen and prayed. Early Monday morning, Wayne and Chester took Tony with them to work at stocking the grocery store. Pat saw Wayne and came over to him. Wayne, I can't believe how many folks of all sizes are here. By the way, that was some Christmas program last night, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Pat, by any chance is your husband or sister anywhere around? Wayne asked. Well, yes, Kyle Dakota is right over there. Pat pointed in his direction. Wayne quickly went over to where he was and talked to him. Soon they both walked briskly back to Chester and Tony. The doc had his bag, looked at his wife, picked up the bag a little, and nodded his head. Pat nodded back, knowing he was about to make a house call. Chester, can you keep an eye on Tony for me? I'm taking the doc to see Jean, Wayne asked Chester. Sure, we'll stock some shelves together, won't we, Tony? Chester told the little boy more than asking him. What stocking shelves? Mama don't feel good. Is Daddy taking the doctor to see her? I think she needs to see a doctor so she feels better, don't you, Chester? Tony asked as Wayne and Kyle Dakota hurriedly left. Looks like your daddy is taking the doctor to see your mama. We're going to take stuff out of boxes and put it on the shelves so people can buy it when the store opens. Chester answered as he picked up a box by an empty shelf and read the tag. Here, let me open the box with my box cutter. Daddy said I couldn't have a box cutter because I might cut myself. And why does Mama feel bad? And do you know when Daddy's coming back? Tony rambled on as usual with his questions. Slow down, Tony. I can't listen that fast. Ask only one question at a time and let me answer it before you ask another question, okay? Chester admonished Tony. Okay, I'll try to remember, Tony replied. Now, what all did you ask me? And only ask one question at a time, Chester emphasized. Tony scratched his nose and put one of his hands to his head. I can't remember what I just asked you. I didn't listen fast enough to myself, Tony sighed. Come on, little bro. Let's put some toilet paper on this shelf like this, Chester said as he slashed the first box and slid it to the back of the shelf. Now take this part of the box I cut off and put it back on the cart. We'll work together. Chester, Daddy sings when he works. Do you think we can sing as we work? Tony asked. I guess so. What do you want to sing? Jesus Loves Me, Tony replied as he started to sing in his lovely soprano voice it carried throughout the store. He stopped and looked at Chester. You're not singing with me, Chester, Tony hollered. I'm sorry, Tony, but I don't know that song, Chester replied. I'll teach it to you then, Tony answered as he happily started singing again. Soon others joined in. Afterwards, someone started singing, I Thank You, Lord, for Your Promises. Everyone who was at the program the night before joined in on it. Then they sang all the Christmas carols from the program. Most everybody joined in on the Christmas carols as they worked, even if they had not been to the church Sunday night. Pat stopped working a second and listened. I've never had a crew that worked so well together, much less sang like a beautiful choir. And the scared little lamb from last night started it with Jesus Loves Me. Jean, staying in bed is no guarantee that you won't lose this baby, but it is your best chance. You have bathroom privileges, but you get to eat in bed, Kyle Dakota told Jean and Wayne after examining her. Doc, would putting her in the hospital help? Wayne asked, holding his wife's hand and wiping his tears away with the other hand. Probably not. I think just getting to the hospital from this distance would be very detrimental. Wayne and Jean, sometimes even under the care of the best specialist and in the best hospital, an unborn baby dies, especially at about this many weeks gestation. And nobody knows why for sure. And honestly, without an exam table and more equipment than I carry in my bag, I can't even be sure that this baby is still alive now. I am so sorry, the doctor said as he closed his bag. Sweetheart, I'm going to go get one of the ladies from your kitchen crew to come over here and while I take Doc Wagner back to the store. Thank you, Doc, for coming, Wayne said as he shook the doctor's hand. Wayne leaned down and kissed his sobbing and severely cramping wife. God's going to help us get through this, sweetheart, he said. I know, I just don't want to go through this valley, Jean replied. Christmas was just a few days away. Wayne, Tony, and Chester set up the tree. The produce delivery truck driver to the city went shopping with carefully made out lists from both Wayne and Jean. As he crossed off the duplicates for Tony and Chester, he laughed at how closely the two lists were for each boy. He made sure he got everything else. The kitchen crew wrapped all of the package for all four and placed them under the tree at the Vozzolo house. They made sure everybody had their meals and even taught Chester how to make his own lunch and do his own laundry. Then they also took Tony and made cookies with him sitting on the counter in the mess hall, helping and making messes in the process. The nativity set was still unfinished. Jean had painted the stones and roof with her oil paints earlier, and it was still drying. There was hay in the tiny loft from an unraveled grass rope cut into small pieces. Glimmering homemade angels lay beside it with a small string of yellow lights, waiting to go up on the roof or to be attached to the silver-studded night sky canvas. The manger also had homemade grass rope hay in it. Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus, and the shepherds with their sheep, the donkey with the cross painted on his back, and the wise men with the camels were all missing, not made yet from Jean's homemade clay recipe. The students, staff, and every available person in Sunny Hill stocked the shelves until noon on Christmas Eve. Go home, everybody. Go home. Spend a night with your family, and tomorrow we'll start work again the day after Christmas, Pat announced over the intercom. Wayne picked up Chester and Tony from the store. After dark, the three left so they could stop by the bus station. I am so glad it's still empty, Wayne said as he started the white truck. after Chester searched for any teens. "How's Mama?" Tony asked. "Tomorrow's Christmas. Is she going to be able to open her presents that are under the tree?" "I don't know, Tony. She's not feeling good at all," Wayne replied. "This is certainly one Vozzolo Christmas I'll never forget," Wayne said, rubbing his stubby whiskers and shaking his head. "Me either. It feels so good to have a family. I really didn't know what that was like," Chester said, shutting the door to the truck. "And I am so sorry that Jean feels like she does. Maybe when she feels better, we can finish the nativity set. It is certainly special." "Yes, it is," Wayne replied. A couple of hours before daylight on Christmas morning, Jean woke up to more cramping and then a gush of blood. Wayne," she shook him awake. "What, honey?" Wayne turned over and saw the bed. "Oh, no. I am so sorry. Doc said if that happened, then it means that there was a miscarriage. Shall I call him?" "No, it won't do any good, but we still have Tony and Chester," Jean sobbed, as Wayne hugged her and also sobbed. "Would you help me to the shower?" "Yes, then I'll change the sheets," Wayne softly said. At daylight, Tony made sure everybody was awake and up to open presents. Wayne and Jean held Tony tight for a minute and hugged at Chester. Then Wayne plugged in the Christmas tree. He picked up one of the tiny angels that was supposed to go with the nativity set and hang it on the tree. "Boys, we have a tiny angel in our hearts that could never be in our arms," Jean said, crying again. Chester hung his head and wiped away some tears, knowing what that tiny angel represented. Fortunately, Tony was very interested in the stuffed donkey with a cross on his back that he opened from his first package. You have now reached the end of the story of One Vozzolo Christmas. Thank you for walking this journey of faith, struggle, and grace alongside its characters. Their paths may pause here, but the work God is doing in their lives and in ours continues beyond these final moments. This story is only one chapter in a larger journey, and the next audiobook in this series, Cross Penny series, new challenges will arise, relationships will be tested, and deeper truths will be revealed as God continues to guide each step according to His purpose. May what you've heard stay with you, encouraging reflection, strengthening faith, and reminding you that God is always present even when the road ahead is uncertain. Thank you for listening. We invite you to continue the journey in the next audiobook, which is the namesake for the series, The Cross Penny. Until then, may God bless you and keep you. You can find The Cross Penny over at lindalculbreth.com.